Hello, everybody. I
up a mountain top or something. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, no, it was I connected with a second device just so I could see what was happening in the room. So we do have a few people who've joined us already. So I'd like to welcome everybody. Thank you so much for being on time. I do apologize that we're starting slightly later than scheduled. We had a few challenges with the tech. But I'd like to say a really big welcome. Thank you so much for joining. Today we're having a conversation with Dr. Olasimbo Davidson, otherwise known as Mama Tems. That's what, to us tonight, that's what she is, okay? And I'm just gonna give you a bit of a quick background about myself. My name is Kunbi Osinoiki. And I run Kunbi's Music Company. We're a hybrid music studio. We're based in Lagos in Nigeria, but we serve clients across the globe. We teach online, on-site, and we also have on-demand courses that can be taken at any time. We teach early years to adults because we believe you're never too young or too old to learn music. So thank you for spending your evening with us. Our purpose today is to find out a little bit about what it's like to parent children with musical talents, and obviously our guest here tonight has a daughter who has taken it to the highest levels. So just giving a bit of background to Dr. Davidson. She's actually a medical doctor. She has a degree in medicine, from the College of Medicine in Ibadan, a master's of public health from the University of Lagos College of Medicine. And then she went on to have a doctorate in health administration from the Atlantic International University in Miami. So she's a double doctor, doctor, actually is what we should be calling her. She's a seasoned healthcare professional. She's an administrator and she's a chartered quality professional. So with all of these qualifications and backgrounds, you wouldn't necessarily associate somebody like her with a mom to a global music star. And I think we want to find out a little bit about their story as we go on. But before we continue, I'd just like to hear from you because we do want this to be an interactive session. So I'd love you to put in the chat where you're joining us from, and if you have children that are taking music lessons, if you're a musician yourself, what is your interest in this conversation? Are you joining us as a parent? Are you joining us as an educator? Just out of curiosity, it'd be nice to know. So if you want to put that in the chat, I'll just wait a few moments so we can get to know you. That would be fantastic. So where are you joining us from and what is your interest in the session? Is it as a parent? Is it as an educator? Is it as a musician yourself? What is it that attracted you to this session? So we have Chiazo from Lagos, who's a parent. Thank you so much for joining us, Chiazo. Nice to know. Anybody else? I know there are other people here. We've got Samuel, we've got Bola. Aqua is joining from Berlin. She has one of her daughters is learning piano, the other is learning violin, and they all sing a lot. Fantastic. And Aqua is joining us as a parent. Fabulous. Thank you so much. Well, I think everybody else, you can also put in the chat as we go along. We have Ada joining from the UK. She's a parent of 2 children who are taking lessons with us. Lovely to have you, ma'am. Nice to have you.
You're welcome, Ada, Berlin, and Chiazo.
Fantastic. Thank you. Okay, so let's carry on. This is a picture that Tems released recently. Okay, so this is, Samuel is a parent and he joined because he loves music and he loves Tems music as well. Interested in the backstory of success in the arts and culture space. Thank you, Samuel. Yes, we're all very interested to learn that as well. So I think Tems put this picture up. I can't remember, not too long ago.
Yeah, it was mid last year. She had a concert. I rushed to the UK to be with her. It was July, I think. Yeah, it was a July concert.
Fantastic. And I think she put this up when a video emerged of you in was it a Maggie advert?
Yeah, Royco. It was a Royco advert.
Oh yes, that's right. Yeah. So that's not in your resume. Your acting
No,
career.
but the funny thing is that most people know that advert. Most people do. So it always comes up like every 5 years. Are you the lady that advert? So, you know, because to hear it's me. Yeah. So yeah.
Okay. Fantastic. Good. Okay, so we want to start with the backstory. Okay, I mean, everybody knows you as, Mama Tems, but I'm interested in knowing how your story, what kind of what was your background? Did you have any involvement in music yourself, and what did your kind of your childhood look like?
Yes. Good question. I did have a music background because from the age of about 6 or 7, my father believed that we had to learn to play the piano, and we were sort of like on this nomadic trip around the world. he got into the foreign service, and we started having lessons abroad when we were moving from one country to the other. So I remember vividly it was in Cairo, because that was the first place my father was posted to. It was in Cairo, and I started learning the piano, and it's all of us. We have 4 girls and a boy, and that boy is my twin. But I think when we're in Cairo, the last one wasn't even born yet. So we just had 4 of us. And so he got all of us, my twin brother, my older sister, my younger sister. Everyone must learn this piano. And we thought, well, yeah, nice idea, but can we just learn it at our own pace? And he said, no. So it's by force. You have to, and I'm going to spank anybody who doesn't practice, who doesn't know their notes. So that's Seriously? What I remember. Yeah.
Wow. How old were you when you started?
I think I'd say about 6 or 7. Yes, because he felt the earlier the better, so they can get used to it. Mm-hmm.
Okay. And so were you being taught by somebody local to Cairo, an Egyptian, or was it no? Okay.
No, we didn't even have any lesson teachers then. He thought it was a bit too early to get lesson teachers. Okay. So he was a teacher. He was a very strict teacher. So he just, because he could play the piano, could play the organ, and he was into classical music at the time. So he bought all the music books with the notes, and he first of all took a very long time, maybe a couple of months, to teach us the notes. And he said, go and write me B, A, C, D minor, so we'd be there chewing the pencil, A major. Ooh, how do you write that? B, where do you put B? C, so we had to learn the notes first. And he was really particular about that, because he said you won't be able to read the music if you don't know what these notes are. Then he'll show you allegro, all those vocabulary that we all had to learn, when you see so we can read the music, when to slow down, when to, so that's basically what he did. He was actually a good teacher, but he wasn't very patient. That was the problem. So he felt it was something that he had to.
Yeah, go on.
Yeah, he had to do it in a very strict way, which I didn't like. Most of us did not like it.
So did he teach all 5 of you at the same time, or were you having one after the other?
Yeah, it was 4 of us. We used to have our own slots. So it would be like, okay, go first, and then I'm next, because my older sister will go first, I'm next. He gave us like 30-minute slots. That's how committed he was to it. Yes. Yeah.
Hours time teaching all of you.
Yeah, he used to time out to teach, especially in the evenings when he's back from work. You just hear him calling you, did you practice today? And if you say no, he's going to spank you anyway. So you then get out your music books and let's start, and then he'll give us some very simple pieces to start with, there's those very simple ones, 1, 2, 3, 2, 1, that sort of thing. So he'll say, use right hand, and you all have to learn with one hand first. So he would teach us with the right hand. to play just one of those, just very simple pieces. He definitely didn't want anyone using their finger. He'll smack you if you try that.
What was
this?
his background? How come he was so into music?
I don't know. That's a funny thing, because he was somebody who did linguistics, University of Ibadan. He was one of the pioneering students of University of Ibadan when Ibadan was actually run by a British university, London University. So all the lecturers were actually white. And he was, so I thought it was just something to do with artistic traits, because if you like, something to do with arts or linguistics, you tend to be some kind of musical person sometimes. So I thought he was just somebody who just liked
music is a language. Music is a language. Yeah,
exactly. And then because his father was an archdeacon, he was in the clergy, full-time clergy. They always were in church, and there was always a piano or an organ to be played so people could sing the hymns. I felt maybe that was the exposure he had, from church as well.
Amazing. So he wanted to pass it on to you guys. So how did you people feel, taking lessons from him? And then what happened? At what point did you move from him to, other teachers, and how far did you go with your music?
I think we all got to being able to play proper pieces, reading the notes. And then we moved to Japan and Tokyo. There was just no space for, because the schoolwork was really something else, no space for any lesson teacher to come and teach. So we had all the hours to practice anything we wanted to do. And then I think it was after we moved to London. And then that is when he said, right, I'm too busy for this, and I'm going to get a lesson teacher. And that's where we started having lesson teachers. By the time I got to the UK, I was 9, 10. Okay. My it was about 11, 12. Yeah.
Okay. Right. And how did that go? I mean, you kept, I understand that you got into competitions, you were doing exams, that kind of a thing. How did you feel? I mean, what was your experience of learning music like?
I thought it was a bit tedious. I felt it was something that, was imposed on me. I didn't see any reason why I should go at the pace that he wanted. So we had different objectives. I'm going to mention that when we come to talk about parenting. And when you're going to parent, you have to look at the objectives. What do you want to achieve? So what he wanted to achieve was obviously different from what I wanted or what my sisters wanted. And by the time we got into high school, it was a boarding school in Kent. Kent was very near Bromley. So we went to this convent. It was a convent boarding school. And he insisted that the teacher, continue with the lessons. And the school said, well, we can't employ a separate teacher. We have a music teacher. Why don't you pay her extra? So that's what happened. So during the break times, we would have to go for our piano lessons. And we had the timetable. We knew exactly who was supposed to go when, which day. Very organized. And the lady, I remember her name was Mrs. Brown. And she was very patient, completely opposite of my dad. She wouldn't smack you for any mistake you made. She would just say, you need to concentrate more. You need to, what's the matter? You can't read the music or what, And so she started telling my dad about the exams and that she thinks we're good enough to start the exams. And that's how we started from grade 1, Royal School College of Music. So she would schedule the music exams after practicing, some pieces. So we all knew which pieces were the exam pieces. She would tell us, you're going to play 2 pieces and you're going to do, a test. So that when the examiner says, play B or play C or play D major, you've got to get it right. You've got to know your notes. And you have to be able to compose a little piece of music. So that's how we started the exams. I thought it was very nerve-wracking, really. There's those exams where you get to the place, you see so many children, you wonder, wow, how am I going to fail? And everyone looks so stern. The examiners were not friendly like the teacher. And if you hear anyone making a mistake, you feel so sorry for that person because it means they probably will fail. Or they'll be told, sorry, you can't go forward. You have to come back. You've missed too many notes. And sorry, we have to end this exam now. It was that strict. So I thought it was a little bit too tedious for someone who, wasn't really sure that was what I wanted to do. I like composing the music. I like reading the notes. I love the classical music, but I didn't like the schedules. I didn't like this, you've got to go for the piano lessons, you've got to go for the exams, you've got to get a particular grade. You can't get, like a pass. My dad wanted a merit or a distinction. It really was very nerve-wracking for me anyway.
Were you allowed to learn anything other than the exam pieces, or was the focus purely on the exam pieces?
Purely on the exam pieces. If anything, my teacher would say, well, you don't have to use this one for the exam. You could just, play this one just for fun. So we had a couple of, but I think what she was trying to do was to throw her net wide to see which ones we played better. So whichever one we played better ended up being the exam pieces, you see.
I understand. So at what point then, or rather, with this kind of a background, how did that influence your own parenting style when you started having children and decided that, okay, I want, how did that influence you as a musical parent?
I think I would say it put me off doing exactly what my dad did to us as children. I did not impose any instrument on my children. When they started playing the recorder, it was because the school said, please buy a recorder. Every single child in this school has to start playing the recorder. So we had to buy recorders. I think they were just like 5 or 6 too, but not the piano. And they did ask, do you want them to have lessons, special lessons in school? And I said, no, I don't think we should impose anything on the children. I want them to be interested by themselves. And everyone thought that was odd, like, what? Isn't that like a bit funny? What if they're never interested and they're talented? I said, I still think they should discover themselves. So I wasn't going to follow that. Go out, buy an instrument. Here you are, you've got to learn this. No, I didn't want to follow that. And so I didn't even tell them, oh, what do you want to do? Would you like to learn how to play the violin? Or would you like to learn how to play the guitar? I didn't ask them anything. The funny thing was that by the time they were like 8 or 9, someone gave my son a guitar. And all of a sudden, I saw the two of them, struggling to get the guitar to play on it. So I thought, what's going on? Hey, Mom, she's taking my guitar, I want to play it. No, I want to borrow it. No, you borrowed it before, give it back. So, and I saw them all sort of like learning the notes. And I thought, this is funny. Okay, so who gave you the guitar notes to play? Oh, someone lent him the book. So he knows it. Hey, Mom, I'm going to show you something. So he started, showing me how he could play a tune. He knew the notes. And my daughter just got up and said, well, I want to learn it too. I said, oh, okay. Well, you see, we'll have to get another guitar. So you have yours. And so they both had guitars by the time they were 10 or 11, I think, because I know my son took that guitar to school. He had that a couple of years before he went to school. So if I'm wrong, maybe a little later, but definitely they both owned guitars at a point, and they both learned to teach, they taught themselves how to play the guitar. They sort of like just were so interested in learning. And I just felt that was the way I liked it. I liked the idea of just going for it the way you want, no lessons, discover it yourself, your talents. And so I found out that, well, I'm not surprised that they're going for a guitar, because we are musical in my family, and these things are genetic. My dad, my uncle's son, he could play by ear. Anything you give him, within 5 minutes, he's memorized everything, and he couldn't read the notes. And he will be on that piano. He'll be playing complicated chords. He was the kind of person that the hotels loved, on open nights. Yeah, please, can you come and play? He will play one tune after the other, and so I knew that there was something that was different about people who had talent. They didn't have to strive, they didn't have to struggle to go through any exams. And I kept asking him, well, I don't know how did you get this far? Did you learn anything, formally? He said, no. Can you read the notes? He said, no. But did uncle actually give you any lessons? No. So, and his uncle could also, my uncle could also play the organ. So I just thought, so there is a way to this talent thing. It doesn't have to be lessons, must do this, schedules, extracurricular activities. You don't actually have to go that way. But once the child shows interest, that's when I say, yes, let's now push a bit. Do you like to do this? You really do? Right. You need to have a little bit of discipline to learn it properly. You can't just be so casual. But even then, I didn't put anyone over the edge. I didn't impose any exams on them. And I think that was my style.
Did you get them teachers at any point?
Yes, I didn't get them any teachers. That was a funny thing. It was more or less like a peer thing. They had friends who could, influence them too. And they had, relatives who could say, you come, I'm going to teach you. Just come. And some of my relatives, like my sister, had a piano too. So anytime they're going to my sister's house, they'll just sit down there and play randomly. And they watch the teachers, who were actually taking my nephews. So I think it was more like an observation. Let me see whether I can learn something from watching somebody else. I did not believe in lesson teachers because I just thought, I've been through this. This is not what I think it works.
So you went completely the opposite way.
Completely opposite. That does not mean that you don't have to have lesson teachers. I think it was because I was still trying to see whether they had the interest. If a child shows interest, yes, that's when you can get teachers. And let it be something that's, easy going. Not, well, I don't care if you're tired, you're going to have to practice now. And teacher has to come every day. So that is, I think I would add. Nothing against teachers. You need lesson teachers, but not when the child is not interested at all.
So going back, just thinking back to your father, what was his goal and how did it differ from yours?
Yeah, I think my dad's goal was he wanted us to be like professional musicians, people that will be asked to come to an event and play, or join an orchestra. That's what I thought he really wanted, because when I looked at it just seemed completely different from, I just thought it was a hobby. I thought, oh yeah, so you learn it up to a point, and then you continue playing, at random events like competitions if you like, and if you don't like, you stop. But not for him. To him, it was something really serious, completely different.
Do you still play?
I don't play. I don't play, but I can try and compose some music, because I still sort of like, I'm the kind of person I don't forget anything. I can get all the notes together and start thinking, how can I get a very nice piece of music out of this? So, but then, to me, it was a bit more of, is this a career path? Can we be serious about this, really? I mean, Dad, is this a career path? And when I got into medicine, it was almost like, I don't have time for this. No, I can't do medicine and be doing this. And in a way, I regretted it in a way, because I thought maybe I should have continued. I mean, it's just a skill that would be nice to have. If you have a church service and someone says, we need someone to play the piano today or whatever, I'll just come out and say, yeah, I can play the hymns. And I lost that opportunity.
Well, it's never too late, like we say.
Exactly.
So at what point then did it transition from being a hobby for especially Tems, but also her brother, to becoming something more serious? Because I believe that they are both still very involved in music. Obviously, we know about Tems, but I believe her brother is also still involved in music. So at what point did it cross over from being just to have, a hobby, something they were doing for fun, to what it is now for them?
I think it's when they went to university. At university, because it's not the typical system that we have in Nigeria, where everyone's just focused on passing exams. Over there, they expose you to a lot of extracurricular activities. So that's when
which country were they at university?
My daughter was in Johannesburg, South Africa, and my son was in Spain. Yes. So I think, and he took his guitar with him. So they all learned to compose music. They learned, miraculously, my daughter was doing gigs. She was going to events to sing and play, and sometimes she sang her own songs. So she just started doing that.
Did she have a teacher by this stage?
No, still no teacher, because in school, there wasn't any talk about, university is like, help yourself. There's no teaching system that's going to, arrange anything for you. So she just tried to make sure she had practice by going to events, joining bands. I think she had about 2 bands or so she was a member of. I know there was a day she said she was going with a band to sing somewhere and they were robbed. Yes, I remember that clearly. They were robbed. And she called me and said, Mom, I'm so sorry. We lost all our phones and we just ran into some robbers at the petrol station. We're going for an event and I was supposed to sing. So that's when I knew that, oh, she's really taking this seriously. And she had said it before she went to university that, Mom, when I come out, I really want to just do this full time. Is it something you really mind if I do? I said, why not? I'm ready to support you. There's no reason why you shouldn't do it full time. You know, I'm not going to force you to take a job if you don't want to. You just want to sing, yes? Let's get the degree first. You know, so I knew then that she was really doing all that to bring her skills up, make sure she had the skills and the competencies to launch her music business after graduation. And my son continued, you know, just sort of like working on his own end. He wasn't into piano much, but the guitar, yes. And he had a lot of instrumental music he loved. So I think he was more into this sort of like, I'm going to get the music, you know, compose the music, have some musical tunes that people really love to have, that sort of thing. He wasn't into classical as such. So I think they took it seriously when they got to university. That's when I could see some changes. It wasn't just a hobby then. They were thinking of some kind of long-term music careers. Although my son wasn't really doing that as seriously as my daughter. And of course, he wasn't into, he can sing too, but he wasn't really into, I'm going to sing, I'm going to compose some songs, not really. Yeah.
Amazing. So you knew, when did you know that Tems wanted to make this a career? Was it at university or before? Because I think before. I saw something, something about when she was, she went to Dowen for a bit, right? Dowen College. And something about her music teacher there was encouraging her to use, you know, to use her voice and everything. Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay.
It was just before she went to university. She got admission at Monash. Before she went, she said, I'm really thinking of this full-time mom, and I don't know what to think about it. I said, I am all for it. I'm all for it. You know, but she wasn't that confident even then. Mom, are you sure I can sing? I said, I know you can sing. I know you can sing.
So what was she like, you know, around the house? Obviously, you were kind of like, just explore, you know, whatever. Was she spending a lot of time on her singing, on her guitar?
She did.
Yeah. So
yeah, she was doing all that by herself.
Yeah, all that by herself. But she was like, you know, in a typical day, if you did you ever have to say to her, put that guitar down and go and do your maths or go and do your English or whatever?
No. There wasn't much of that because I noticed that she knew when to get her homework done and when to so she had a whole catalog of songs that she had written even before she went to school. So she spent time, you know, composing songs, thinking up tunes all before she went to school. But I don't think it was really something that interfered. I know some parents think, oh, how do you do this? It really does take away from the time the child spending academically, studying. Not really. I think it's a balance. We can get that balance. We can decide if a child is not aware that he's not spending enough time or she's not spending enough time on proper homework, then that's when the parents should step in and look at the calendar and decide, right, it's not every day we can have this, but we can have practice days. We can have days when if you don't have much homework, you can work on your music. But I don't think it's something that interferes with academic performance. I don't think so. I've never experienced that really.
Fantastic. So both your children finished school, went to university. They both, you know, got their degrees in whatever. So, you know, they could potentially have a very different career completely away from music. Yeah.
Right. That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. Yes. Because Tunji, my son, did computer engineering, and then he went to do an MBA in another country, not Ukraine. And my daughter just decided going straight into music. I'm not going to waste any time doing any masters for now. But of course, a lot of people thought she should go and get a regular job first. And she did. Actually went and got a regular job. She had lots of things she was doing. And at a point, she just said, I think it's time to drop this 9 to 5 and focus on getting my records out. And so it was more of a gradual thing for her. It wasn't straight out of school, straight into the music. No, she had a job. She had a 9-to-5 job for a while. And
so what was that transition like for you as a parent when your child says to you, right, I'm leaving a secure 9-to-5 job, yeah, to go into this career that, there is no certainty, there are no guarantees. How did you feel about that as a mom?
It was a bit worrisome in a way, because I had to think about it. Am I being reasonable? Am I supposed to say, no, you can't do that until you get a contract? You don't drop a job. Am I supposed to say that? Or am I supposed to say, well, you can drop your job and let's see. So I did the second option, which was, okay, drop the job. And I believe you can make something out of this. It was a little risky, and I did have a think, am I doing the right thing? Is this the right thing to do? Am I going down the deep end? What if nothing happens? Then what? But I just decided, I just want to give this a chance. I want to give her an opportunity to pursue this full time without saying, so what's going to happen if it doesn't work? Anybody can say that. I don't want to say that, And so we all sort of like, we just took a leap in the dark. But I did have a revelation, because I am a very strong Christian in that sense. I believe that when God shows you something, you ought to be able to pursue that. So I felt leading in that direction, because I did pray, and is this the right decision? Should I allow her to do this, drop a job, And I felt a sense of peace in my spirit. I felt that this is the right decision. So I told her, I said, well, I've prayed about it, and I think you should go ahead. And that was it. That was just it.
And how long did it take from that decision to it being clear that, man, she's going to make a very, good success out of this? How long did it take for that to come through?
About a year.
That's all. So not even very long at all.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Did you feel overwhelmed when, she started getting international attention and you had all these, big names coming after her? And you're like, where is my baby gone?
Yeah, it's true. I did feel like, whoa, this is almost like, am I dreaming? Is this real? And it felt really surreal, really. It felt really out of this world. But I knew then that no going back. And I thank God, Apple did the documentary, and they interviewed me, and they said, what if she becomes really successful and you don't see so much of her anymore? I said, I'm ready to put up with that, because it's her future that matters. I want her to get the opportunity to be out there if she can, and to succeed, and to achieve her goals. So I'm not going to hold her back and say, oh, you can't do that. You have to stay in Nigeria, I know. Totally not.
Okay, so looking back, and please, those of you who are on the call, if you have any questions for Mama Tems, could you please put it in the chat so we can put it across to her? But I wanted to ask you, looking back, what would you have done differently?
I think once a child is showing some interest in pursuing some kind of musical talent, I think a mentor is someone who could probably get that child, to her goal faster. So I think that's what I would have done differently. I would have made sure they had mentors, musical mentors, people who really were in the industry. They knew exactly what they were doing. They knew how they could get the children to that level. That would do, because even my son said, oh, Mom, I dropped music for a while, I wasn't composing anything. I really wished I had not left that gap. And because there was no mentor, there was no one saying, hey, listen, you could do this. You can. So I think mentors keep these children going, because there are lots of challenges on the way. They can get very discouraged. And I think that mentorship program is really key. I would have done that if I had known about it, to be honest. Yeah.
Okay, and looking into the crystal ball, what's the future?
I think the future is very bright. And I would definitely like to encourage all parents. I know some of the questions I have been asked, like parents whose children are really more into classical music. What's the future for a violinist? Who's going to employ her? How is she going to make money? Where, so I would say, as far as I know, things have changed. Orchestras now are paid positions, unless they're local orchestras. But if they're top orchestras, and I can tell you what I've researched, I found out Europe alone has over 400 professional orchestras. America doesn't have a lot. I think they said they have less than 40 orchestras, and UK has so many. And Africa has just about 8. But in Europe, there's a lot of opportunities. There are a lot of opportunities for children who are musically inclined. They can become professionals. They can become people who actually compose songs for artists. And that itself is also a very good income stream. They can decide to be, people who are teachers, very high level teachers at universities. So they could actually pursue an academic career as well. That means I'm going ahead, I'm going to do a doctorate in music, I'm going to go to a music school, So I see a lot of opportunities. My daughter, I know that if she does, get to the point where she decides, I don't want to sing anymore, which obviously is still a long way off because she's still young. And there are lots of things she can also do. So many things. Even people who sing, they eventually end up running academic schools for music and, teaching voice, teaching music. And some people just branch into other areas of life, like fashion, because she can do so many things. So I don't have any worries about her future. There's so many things she can do. And I think any musical child has a lot of opportunities, to be honest. It's just the way we train the child and what do we want to achieve. Like I said, objectives must be clear from the very beginning. Is this going to be a hobby? If it is, there's no need to worry about the person being a full-time musician. She can obviously, do some other courses, become a doctor, become a neurologist, or just become, an accounting person, or some of those, nice professions that they have out there, sciences, especially research sciences, things like that. So it depends on what we really want for the children. And but there is a career, path for musicians now, and it's really quite clear that there are many options. I think
there are many options that are not necessarily on the big stage, because I think
yes,
parents feel that if it's not the big stage, then it's not worth doing, But do you worry about burnout, because I know that sometimes the gigs can be quite relentless and all of that. And how much of an involvement do you have in her career and the direction of her career? And, all that side, the business side of things, her gigs and all of that.
Yeah, definitely. She has very capable managers, so I don't interfere much, but I do sort of like a little oversight. I tend to keep up with whatever's going on. And if I think there's a direction that, maybe they ought to consider, the managers, or she ought to consider herself, I discuss it with her. Have you thought about this? Have you thought about that? I know before Wakanda Forever came out, I told her I had a dream. And in my dream, she was in a movie. I said, Mom, I was in a movie. No way. That sort of thing. I'm not going to be acting. I said, I don't know what you were doing in there, but I did hear you singing. You were singing in the movie. And that was what I told her. And next thing I knew, Wakanda Forever came out and she was singing, everything's going to be all right. No woman, no cry. So it was exactly what I told the managers even then. I was saying to them, I don't know if you've considered anything about movie. So they said, movie? Like she'll be acting? I said, no. I just had a dream about she was in a movie singing. They said, oh, nothing like that. Well, it's a nice idea though. Well, we haven't, so that's the sort of thing I do. I can say, have you thought about this? Do you think this would be a nice way to expand, the kind of, stuff she does? Do you think this would be good for her brand? So I do that. And I sort of like get updates as well about what she's doing, how she's doing it. I can recommend, I can say, I think we're better off doing this. And she would listen, So that's what I do. I don't interfere though. She has very good managers at the moment. Yeah.
So what's your relationship like with her
now?
Yeah,
we're very close because even if I don't see her every day anymore, she moves around a lot. But when she's home, like she's been home for some time now, we discuss everything. We pray together, we discuss everything. We look at strategies, we discuss challenges, because whether we like it or not, even successful musicians have challenges. And some of those could be just, how do I move forward with this idea? How do I get this? How do I, so we discuss all sorts of ideas. And, she shares all sorts of things with me. We've built up a relationship over time where I don't like to do what my parents did to us, which is, any little problem, they're jumping up, they're screaming their heads off, they're, criticizing. You can criticize your child. I do that, but not in a negative way. You have to be constructive about your criticism. That's very important. And then you have to say, I won't support this. You have to be firm about what you're not going to support. And then you let them know, I think you should do it this way. And let's all pray about it so that we can be sure. So over time, we've had that sort of relationship where she can say, Mom, I think we should pray about this. I'm really worried about this issue. Okay, let me know what do we pray about? Okay, what do you want us to achieve? I want us to, get some direction about this. Okay, right, that sort of thing. So I'd say I enjoy that relationship with her. So she's an adult. You can't impose anything on an adult. I can't tell her, I think you should go and live in Canada. And then, okay, Mom, I'm going. No, when they're adults, they can say, no, of course not. I don't want to go to Canada. For what? Let's live in social place. Let's stay social place. So, you don't have that kind of control over adults anymore. Telling them where to live or telling them who to be friends with. No, you can't do that. But you have to have your eyes peeled. Good. This person is a good influence. I like this person. You let them know. This person, I'm not sure of this person. Are you sure? What is your experience? So you need to talk them through things. That's what I do all the time.
So you're like a mentor then on everything except the music side. Yeah. Exactly. Fantastic. There's a message here in the chat says, congratulations, Mama Tems, for encouraging your children to learn music in accordance with their talents. So, then, she says, I'm a grandparent. Yeah. Okay. I don't know if anybody else has any more questions. Is there anything that you would like to add, to say, to encourage our, parents who are just starting out on this journey?
I actually like to hear some people's experiences, some parents' experiences, and what they think that experience can teach some of us.
Okay.
Yeah, can we have some sharing?
Okay, Mrs. Davidson would like to hear from some of us here. So, if anybody wants to say something, you can unmute. Okay, Aqua has a hand up, so I'm just going to bring you up, Aqua. Give me 1 second. Okay, please go ahead. Are you able to unmute yourself?
Yeah, I'm able to unmute myself.
Fantastic. Okay,
yeah.
Please go ahead.
So I thank you very much, Mama Tems. It was really encouraging. I think I agree with you on a lot of things. Yes, our parents were really like very strong-headed in a lot of things, and we've seen what it brought. Unfortunately for me, my husband is an only child, so I guess he didn't have it from his parents, but he's trying to bring it in here. So he also started with saying, my daughter has to learn the piano, and she never took interest in it at all. And then all of a sudden she said, that's not what I want. Even from the beginning, she said, that's not what I want. But he tried to convince that starting with that would make every other instrument easier. So she can't play anything on there, although she started very young at 6. And then she started the violin. She actually started just before COVID, and it was hard for us to do the online. So we quit. Just this year, August, she started again. And she's progressed so fast because that's what she's interested in. And I also always thought, like, let's wait for them to show their own interest. So it's very encouraging what you said, and we'll just keep it that way. Even if you spent a lot of time in lessons and you say you're not interested, we shouldn't push it further. Whatever they show their own interest, they will fly in.
Totally. Thank you, Akwa. This is just very encouraging too, because honestly, we can get into wrong thinking about this. Okay, if I'm aggressive about it, the child will pick up and do it. No, not really. You're driving her farther away. And at the end of the day, there's going to be some inbuilt resentment, which she may grow up with. That why were you doing that? I don't know why. Why you can't force me? So I thank God she's actually playing the violin instead. Fantastic. So I think what I can say about that is, yes, we need to expose them to several instruments, several, career lines with music. Not just go buy a piano. Let's have several instruments. And the way you do it is not to go out and buy all the instruments, is to just, have videos, just stylishly, cultivate some sort of musical library where you can play different types of, this is somebody on the sax. What do you think of that? I know children that went along with sax because they loved the way the sax sounded. They didn't care how difficult it was to play. I love this sax. And the way that sax was so popular in those days, I mean, I don't know how popular sax is now, but I know a couple of years back, sax was it. If you could play the sax, wow. The trumpet wasn't very popular. The flute was very popular. And so it's just about exposure. Then they can pick whichever one they want. And that's where you could go out and buy the instrument, not before. Thanks, Akwa. That was really a good experience.
Thank you, Akwa. Thank you for asking that. I think Samuel would like to share something as well. Please, you have the stage, Samuel.
Hello, everyone.
Hello,
Thank you so much, Mama Tems. I really, really enjoyed this session. Like, I think I got to really love Tems when I got married. And I think for the first 2 weeks of our honeymoon, we were playing Luku Luku and, Ray Bell. Like, it was just, so beautiful. So yeah, when I saw this, I was like, no, I have to listen to this. For me, one thing you said, looking back, that you wish you had done was mentorship. And I mean, I agree so much with that, because for me, I have always loved music growing up, I even as a kid dreamt of, being on the stage, going worldwide, all this sort of stuff. And when I got into the university, I decided, okay, I'm going to do this on my own, start write some of my songs, go to the studio and all of that. And because I didn't have any formal training in how to play the piano or the violin or drums or whatever, it was very difficult communicating my ideas to producers I was working with, and sometimes that music language wasn't there. So I would say, okay, this is what I want, but then whatever they do just doesn't vibe with what's in my head. And so later on, I had to now start learning Fruity Loops, trying to just, understand production and bring my sound alive, But then even my parents as well were not really understanding, So it just became a dream that sort of died, So now, you look back, you think about it like, whoa, what if we had the mentorship? What if there was a clear path? And now I'm into business. Mentorship too was a problem, but over time, I've seen how mentorship can really fast track your growth in anything. And also, I'm into the art space doing business now, but the things I have learned on my journey of music, I see them finding application and expression in what I do. you know, in also trying to see how one can be innovative with art, to see how to maybe combine art with music and all that sort of stuff. So, you know, I just felt like I should just say that I really, really enjoyed this. Thank you.
That's great. I think
Thank
you
you,
can still
Samuel.
do something. That's what you do. Even if it's for your children, you can still do something to fulfill this dream of yours, because you obviously have some sort of, you know, insights into what sounds good. That is a talent, you know, actually a talent. Oh, wow. Thanks so much for sharing. Oh.
Absolutely. Samuel, I'll say to you, it's never too late. Where are you joining us from, Samuel?
I'm joining from Kaduna,
Okay.
Nigeria. Yes, I actually wanted to say also, I'm a parent. I have a son. He's 2 years old. And, you know, whenever we're in the car, he's telling me, Daddy, play, Daddy, dance. And then he's dancing to the music. And I'm like, whoa, this guy, we have to introduce you to music.
That's right, you know.
Yeah.
I think we have to keep going. I mean, really, I remember my son being so crazy about drumming. But what did I do? I didn't bother. When he got hold of the guitar, I left the drums. He could have done both, you know. So I think we should just keep looking at what they can do. Buy him something that's not too expensive and let him start, you know, start playing around with it. That's how they.
Sure.
Not something that's so serious that he eventually say, I don't want to play this. Just a toy to start with. Yeah. Musical toy.
Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you.
Does anybody else have anything to share? I just want to say a little bit about Mr. Kingsley. Let me bring you up. I just wanted to say a little bit about what you said about not putting undue pressure on the children. I watched King Richard this last couple of days, and I was intrigued by how he found a balance between his own personal ambition for his girls and making sure they didn't burn out. Okay, so he was hardcore. However, I didn't see, and of course, this is Hollywood, maybe they've, you know, sugarcoated the story a little bit, but I never saw a time when the girls were saying, we don't want to do this, Dad, and he was marching them down to the court. They were willing. Do you understand me? But then he would make sure that, you know, they did other things. I think one of them, I don't know which one, is fluent in 4 or 5 languages, you know, very good in the arts, that kind of a thing. So they ended up developing a well-rounded basket of skills, which we can see now, you know, for Serena to say, okay, I'm done with this, I'm going into my own fashion line or whatever. The whole world is ahead of her. She can do anything because she got so many other skills, you know, and he didn't let them take any competitions for, I think, 5 years. While he was being told by the professionals that they have to do competitions all the time. I was like, you people don't kill my daughters for me, you know? And I think finding that balance as parents is so important, because if you're in it for the long game, then you want to encourage that passion in a way that is sustainable. You understand? And not put undue pressure on them. You know, I mean, from what you're saying, you sat all the exams going, you know, you did competitions.
So stressful. They're going to practice even for the competition, and the school was organized. And what betide you when you came out? you went the best. Just not.
So it took the enjoyment out of it for you.
For me.
Yeah. Mr. Kingsley, please, you have the floor.
Yeah, hi, good evening. Congratulations, Mama Tems, on everything your daughter has achieved. I mean, it's I mean, we're all very proud of her. I mean, everyone's rooting for her. Well, normally we root for Nigerians everywhere, but I mean, she's done amazing. So big ups to you, big ups to her and to your father, everything that he done. I mean, it's gone down the generation, and it's obvious that at some point someone's going to win something, you know. So we're happy that's happening in our generation, you know. Yeah, so I've got 2 daughters who we're fortunate that Mrs. Kunbi teaches them, you know. And the elder one, who is 10 years, who's going to be 10 next month, she's quite interested in the piano, you know. She loves it, and she does it even without much motivation. But the younger one is like, she's not interested at all. And she's seeing her her cousins played violin, and she's interested in violin, you know, but I heard, I mean, back in the days, I tried to learn, my parents tried to get me to play instruments, you know, but I wasn't really that keen about it. But it's not like we had any at home anyways. We had to go to a certain place and play, so I wasn't really so keen. But I used to hear over time that you needed the knowledge, that with the knowledge of the piano, you'd be able to easily assimilate into playing every other instrument. So that's what I'm trying to implement here, to get the younger one to learn to play the piano. And then over time, if she's interested, I'll get her to sign up for I'll get her like a violin or whatever the case may be, you know. So I don't know if I'm going about it the wrong way, because to an extent she's not really keen about it. But I know that she's got enough support from us and her elder sister. You know, so yeah.
I would not push the piano, because I've seen children that never went through any piano and they just got on that violin. I know one right now, and she's playing in an orchestra, in the school orchestra. Fantastic. She never touched the piano. So we need to look at the fact that not everyone goes through the piano, and then that piano will help them to get to the next level. Not really. Yes, it does help, but if they say no, let's get the the violin if you can see that she's ready to commit herself to it. I've seen children who say, I want a violin, it's going to be a song. When you buy the violin, can't stand the sound. Oh, it's hurting my ear. Oh, I don't want to play it. It's hurting my shoulder. We need to be sure that she's really serious about it, and you have to have a chat with her. Are you sure?
That's what I'm thinking. That's why I want to maybe get her a little bit of discipline using the piano, and then get the violin in. I just thought I should ask anyway.
I think that discipline is consistent regardless of what instrument it is.
To get her into a system first of all, before introducing, because her elder sister graduated from using the smaller piano to the grand piano, whatever it's called, 18 key. So I just thought, like, there's an extra piano in the house waiting. She might as well just get on that one and learn something. Well, thank you anyways. Thanks for being here.
Notes. She can even do simulation. So get her simulation games. Simulation games are like these apps that have
music app. We use them.
Yes, then she can sort of like simulate on that and see if she likes it. Then she needs to learn all the notes. Once you're convinced that she could use a simulation, she can learn the notes, they can buy her the instrument. That's my recommendation.
Okay. And is there any hope for the older ones, the older generations like us that were not so keen back then? And
there's no time, because I remember my brother was completely rebellious against this piano thing. We suffered it as children because we're all girls, except for my twin brother. So he just decided, if you spank me, continue spanking, I'm not going to touch this piano. And that's what he did. He didn't mind how many times they beat him in a day. So I remember one day when my father was fed up, he just told him, go away. Don't touch this piano anymore. Since you refuse to practice, you refuse to learn, blah, blah, blah. I'm going to stop all your lessons in school, because he was also in a school in the UK. And one day I saw my brother, who has never been practicing. I never saw him lifting a finger to touch the piano. We're all sweating, trying to practice. He just got on there and played a complete piece. Everyone was like, oh. What happened? How did you know it? He said, I've been watching guys. But how did you know which where to press? I said, I know. I just didn't want that forcing me. So you never know with that. He got on that pen and he played a complete, So there's hope at any age, and he was a much older person then. So I don't think at age you can say, oh, it's too late for me. No, it's not, honestly.
Yeah. All right, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
Okay, I think Akua wants to say something.
Yeah, Kingsley, I would say, especially when you have two girls, I would be very careful, because girls tend to compare themselves to each other. So if one is interested in the instrument and the other is not, then the other who is not interested comes up as if she's not serious or not disciplined, but it's just because she doesn't like that instrument. That's exactly what has played in my home. And the one who likes the piano, she just started, like, in 2 months, she can play anything she wants. And the one who didn't like it, Yeah, she's really good. And
Wow.
the one who didn't like it never progressed that fast. But when she got the instrument she liked, she's also
Wow.
progressing very fast. So if you compare them on instruments that they not both like the same level, you would think one is not so interested or not so disciplined, but it's because of the lack of interest. And once they are girls, this alone can cause some kind of competition or sibling rivalry that you would really like to avoid for the future.
I totally agree.
I think there is an age where we need to listen to the children. I mean, up to a certain point, they don't really, they will do anything you ask them to do because they don't really have a preference.
Yes.
Although I have seen, we had a 4-year-old one who was very clear that all he wanted to do was drums. And he was good and he was disciplined at it. You understand? But that is rare, you know. But I think once your kid is, I don't know, 8, 9, 10, you have to go with whatever passion that they have. But the biggest thing I think for us as parents is that consistency, because no road, and I think you would tell us the same, that even if it's the route that you've chosen, it's not going to be lined with gold. It's not going to be easy. And to see the kind of, you know, progress and excellence and everything, it's going to take hard work and it's going to take consistency. And it's that consistency that really trips people up, because after a while, they're like, I have to do this again, today again, you know, and, you know, at some point, but if it's something they're passionate about, they're more willing, you know, to put in the time, to put in the effort, and they won't see it as work or stress. So it's just finding that balance and, you know, that you know, consistency, and then enabling environment as well. Because if you're forever saying to your children that that thing is noisy, please stop it, you're disturbing me, you're going to kill any passion that they have. You know?
Right.
Yeah. Okay, so I don't know if anybody else has anything they wanted to say. I know Mrs. Davidson was very keen that this would be an interactive session. One of the things that I wanted to just share, for those of you who might be completely new to KMC, I said this at the beginning, we are very much about music learning as a lifestyle. If you want to get certified along the way, we will very happily, you know, help you achieve that goal. We have a fantastic record of 100% of our students since post-COVID merit or distinction. But we've done this in such a way that I don't think any of those children have turned around and said to their parents, I don't want to do music anymore. Because we try and find a balance between what the parents want out of the lessons and what the children want. And we try and infuse the lessons with not just learning the instruments, but a whole heap of, you know, content around it that will make it hopefully a little bit relevant and interesting for them. But we don't believe that music learning stops at any age. I came into music education because of the neurological benefits. I think everybody should have a go at learning an instrument because of what it does for your brain. What it does for your brain, what it does for you emotionally, and all of that, even just to have it as an outlet. So that is my, you know, my starting position. And I think that, you know, for adults, there is so much, especially in terms of distressing, that you can get from being able to, you know, play a musical instrument that, you know, we'd fully recommend. So music learning is for everybody of all ages. And starting Saturday, we have a whole heap of, we've opened up all our classes for everyone to try them out. Okay. Come along, sign up. We have classes online, we have classes in person, we have classes for adults, classes for children. It's called Taster Week, starts on Saturday till next Friday. And for anyone, you know, watching this who's interested, then you can just, you know, get in touch. Use the magic word Tems. Let us know that you had registered on this program, and we will book you in. And you can try all the classes if your schedule allows. There's no limit. But when children are starting off and they're not sure, we always recommend that they do what we call take a non-graded route. We have 2 routes, because I know what pressure does to passion. Okay, so the graded route is the route of pressure. We can't deny it because they're trying to learn a very limited type of material. That's not necessarily music that they enjoy. It's not music that they hear on the radio regularly, that we're not in the West, we're not surrounded by that kind of music. So the very limited repertoire that they don't really have an affinity to, and they have to learn to play to a really high standard. That's a graded route. And then there's a non-graded route, which is more easygoing, stuff they hear on the radio, you know, Bloody Samaritan, whatever. I mean, obviously, because we work with children, we're very particular about the kinds of songs that we do, but, you know, the contemporary sounds. But that doesn't go anywhere. And for some parents who are, you know, obviously sacrificing for lessons, that is not attractive, you know, because they're like, oh, but what are they going to do with it? I think you've shown us that you don't have to go down the graded route to be successful.
No.
And I think a balanced music education will have both, because like I said, music is a language. And what you're doing is that you're learning to speak this language. You're learning, so the graded route is like learning the grammar, if you like. You're learning to read. Yeah, you know, okay, how to construct a sentence. You know which verbs and prepositions go together. But you're not free. There's no freedom, you know, in your expression. You have to express yourself in a certain way. The non-graded route is where you can be creative. You can break the rules. You know the rules and then you break them. Okay, and that is actually, it's how you break those rules and make people attracted to you in the first place. They'll be like, wow, she did that? You're not supposed to be able to do that, you know, that kind of a thing. And that, you know, gets people interested. And somehow a combination of the two is a balanced diet. I think too much of one will mean that you can be fantastically expressive, but like you said about, was it your cousin? But he can't read. So he's not going to be able to transmit his ideas to the next generation. He can't put them down for posterity, you know. But the other side, where it's purely just learning the grammar and the verbs and the everything, you can kill all creativity doing that alone. And somehow in the middle is a happy medium. And so what we try and offer our students is a bit of both. Okay, you're going to become literate. You're going to be able to translate your ideas in written form for you know, your peers, for people coming after you. They can pick up your music and carry on, and you're going to be creative and, you know, expressive, and, you know, be able to play contemporary stuff as well. So when you get in touch, you can try everything. Try all the routes, the graded route, the non-graded route. If your children are first starting off, definitely the non-graded. Let them try lots of different instrumental lessons. You don't have to have an instrument at home to take part in those lessons. If you can come to our studio, then your kids are welcome to come and use our instruments during the lessons. We don't demand anything, you know, no pressure on them that they have to practice this and this and this before. They just come, enjoy, immerse themselves in the experience. Or if it's an online non-graded route, then they can do that as well. But obviously for the online, they have to have an instrument at home. But the demands are not the same. It's when your child gives you the indication that, oh, actually, I want more, then, you know, you can then start to look at, okay, you know, how do we formalize this? Yes, it's helpful to have a piece of paper that confirms your skills, but you can also get to a level of proficiency like Tems. I don't think anybody's asking her where is her
Nobody's
music exam. You know. Yeah, so it's important that we do what is right for our children. And I'm not criticizing anybody for going either route. You have to do what is right for your family. And sometimes having that piece of paper has meant that some children can get scholarships and they can enter some very, very good schools, and then they become the best heart surgeons in the world because they had this basket of skills and they had certifications in it. So I'm not saying it's a waste of time. I'm just saying that don't sacrifice your relationship with your child over that piece of paper. Okay. And don't sacrifice the passion for music and the love for music because of one way. There's lots of different ways to skin a cat. But as much as possible, try and get a balance if you can. So that's my little speech for the day. So yeah, anybody on this call, if you want to try out our classes, we are online, we are in person, give us a message, say you're from Tems, and it's unlimited trials for the whole of next week.
Do you have voice training?
Yes, we do voice training.
Oh, good. Okay.
Yeah.
Because I have mentees who need voice training. I think it's just because some people know my daughter, so they've gravitated towards me. Oh, can you help? You know, so I tell, if you want voice, I can organize. So I actually partnered with some people, they're expatriates, and they started doing some kind of voice. But if you can do it, why do I send them down there? You know? Okay.
Yeah, we definitely have voice training. I do, obviously, when I'm recruiting, I do make sure that I'm having staff that have the piece of paper. That's the other thing, you know, because they need to know to be able to do that. So yeah, I do have suitably qualified staff who can do that. I think I saw a question here. Was it Afua? Let's see. It says, what is experience with the online instruments? I don't teach online instruments. I teach online, and the students have the instrument with them. So the only thing that we do teach that is online is the music tech. And so we do introduce them to using software that allows them to create their own arrangements, instrumentation of, you know, songs that they've learned, and that kind of a thing. So we do that. But in terms of physically learning an instrument, I'm not teaching an online violin or an online piano. You have to have your own instrument that you're learning off. It's just instruction is over Zoom. But we also have a whole wealth of resources that supports that. So we have video tutorials and all kinds of resources that the children can access. We use apps as well as part of our teaching. It's very modern, very 21st century, because we know the world that they're going out there is not a purely classical world. And so we try and give them a good mix, a balanced diet, like I like to call it. Did that answer your question, Afua? I'm not quite sure what you meant by your question, but we don't teach online guitar.
No, what I meant by online teaching is exactly like the instruction is online, but the person has the instrument. But I'm just wondering, like, comparatively, having a student and a teacher in the same room, and the instructor being online and the student somewhere else. How do you compare it? Is one you see a disadvantage when it's done online?
Sure. Okay. So one of the clear things that is not going to be able to happen is the teacher isn't going to be able to physically place the child's hand in a certain position, or physically point or touch stuff. There's that physicality isn't there. The advantages, and we went online obviously because of COVID, and I have parents who live in the same city as us, in the same Ikoyi, who still have lessons online, even though we are literally a 20-minute drive from their house, because of the convenience for them. And you do need, in a way, the children need to learn to be a bit more independent, okay? Take a bit more ownership for their lessons. But also, every lesson that we deliver, we also have, like I said, a whole heap of resources that support that. So, for example, and I think that this is actually why we've kept a learning management platform, because what we found is that even for in-person lessons, as the teacher is leaving the door, half of what he said is going out with him. And so when it's time for practice, the kids are like, oh, I can't remember, what he showed me, how we did that bit. Everything that we teach has been pre-recorded. And so the kid is able to, look over the video, pause it at the right point, or loop it at a certain point, and just look at that over and over again to say, oh, that's what we did, or whatever. And so with the right kind of resources and support, it's actually just as effective. And I say that because, like I said, 100% of our students have taken exams since 2020 have been merit or high or distinctions. We had a distinction on New Year's Day and a distinction on the 2nd of January, as in the results came in. And that's been the trend since 2020. And the reason, and most of those students are online. Not all of them, but my studio is 50-50 online and in person. And the results don't vary. It's not like the online students are getting worse. In fact, some of the online students are my top performers. It's more about the practice. And I think parents forget about that. It's what happens in between the lessons and the kind of mentorship and coaching that happens. When the kid has a lesson on Monday, we don't wait until Friday to talk to the kid. If the kid needs help, they have access to the teacher in between the lessons. So they don't have to be stuck until the next week, you know. So it's just kind of like how it's done that determines whether it's effective or not. I don't think it's the mode of instruction, it's just how it's done and the work that happens in between. All righty. Any other questions? Okay, thank you. That really answers my question. Excellent. Thank you so much. Does anybody else have anything they want to say before we round up? We've been here over an hour. Mama Tems, I'm waiting for my tickets.
Yes.
Backstage pass.
Actually, those backstage tickets. I always just need to make sure that I know where and when. That's
Fantastic.
important. So I'll find out. So, but thank you so much for inviting me. I've had a good time talking to everyone.
Thank you so much. I think Samuel had something he wanted to say very quickly. We'll just take that and then we will. Did you want to say something, Samuel?
Yes. So what age is appropriate to start exposing your children to music, you know?
Before they're born.
Whoa. So my son, who is 2 years, can start like online classes with you, for example?
I wouldn't do live online with that age. We did try it during COVID and it wasn't very successful just because they haven't got the attention span. Any music, so all my children went to Mommy and Me classes. Okay, all my children, right from when they were, as soon as they could sit up. It's because you are there, you are the first carer, you're the first music teacher. Okay, so any engagement with them musically, what we do offer is that we do have Mommy and Me sessions pre-recorded that you can access at home and enjoy with your child and engage with your child. And those things, those sessions are built in such a way that it helps the children begin to understand about rhythm, about pitch. There's lots of different things built into that. But you need to do that in a conducive environment. You can't have, other distractions on. You can't have your phone going. You can't be scrolling and trying to, you understand me? You do have to engage with your child in the singing, in the activities, and the rhymes, especially in the rhymes and all the finger actions, because that begins to help them to associate sound to rhythm and to pitch. And when they're doing the instruments, for example, they have to, follow the beats and do it in a certain way. And all of that is building their appreciation of the foundations of music. So by the time you then put them in front of an instrument like the piano, we start everybody on the piano because it's something they can bang. It's like a drum with tunes. It's easier. They already have an innate understanding. And then when they're a little bit older and their fingers can cope with bigger instruments and intricate, violin placements and things, they can move on to something else. But when they're still developing and they haven't got quite the coordination needed for other instruments, we always start them off on the piano. But yeah, your Mommy and Me class is all about you and the baby. But we do have, if you want to DM me later, I can share some of those resources with you. We have a community, it's called Music Moms and Dads. And we have resources for early years and tips on how you can support your baby at home until they're ready to go onto an instrument.
All right, thank you so much. That would be great.
Yeah. You're welcome. Okay, I think we've done really well. It's nearly, I did say to you, man, that this is going to be at least 90 minutes. And I think we're very close to that. So I just wanted to say thank you very much, everybody. Thank you for making out the time and hanging out with us. Thank you, Mama Tems, for such a beautiful insight. I really enjoyed my conversation with you. There's so much more I would love to ask you, I'm sure. But
sessions with different topics, I think, if need be. Especially about the mentorship, because we need to talk about the therapeutic effect of music. And this is because a lot of people don't understand the medical aspect of music.
Absolutely.
What one can do, especially if the child looks like, a child that is having some sort of, difficulty blending in school, or the child looks sad, or what we can do, in terms of therapeutic musical, interventions. That would be an interesting one for sure.
That will be very much so. Yeah. So we'll have another date at some point. Thank you so much for coming, everybody. God bless you. Thank you, Samuel. Thank you, Afua. Thank you, Mr. Ziagba, and everybody else that asked questions. I hope you have a lovely evening. I hope you found this insightful. The replay will be available for the next 72 hours. I know there'll be some people watching this who were not able to join us live. And then for those of you whose children are taking lessons with us, or those of you in our Music Moms and Dads community, it's available all the time in the community. So you can always rewatch that whenever you want. Thank you for your time. God bless and have a lovely 2023.
Yes.
Thank you.
New year, everyone.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.